Flattening and merging your take folders. Logic offers it. I think it's one of the worst things you can do in your projects. And I want to show you why and what I recommend you do instead. Logic's take folder system is just so awesome for managing the different takes of your projects. For example, I have this take folder that houses 4 different takes of an acoustic guitar. The beauty of take folders is number 1, all of your takes are combined into a single, easy to open and close folder. Number 2 is the function of quick swiping, which allows you to quickly and easily switch between different takes. Just click and swipe any portion of a take or adjust the boundaries to dial in exactly where you want the edit without having to chop up your regions. And whichever portion of a region that you select is automatically populated to the composite take, the combined version of all these different selections you've made that you'll hear when you press play. Let's take a quick listen to some of my comping. Right, we just passed over 2 edit points because of these different takes I've chosen, and it sounds good. So let's assume that I go through the entire acoustic guitar and I choose different takes for every section from beginning to end. At that point, it would be safe to assume that I've made all my selections of which takes are the best takes to make up my composite take, and by now I probably am not going to use any of the leftover takes, right? I mean, I didn't choose this portion of take 2 or take 4 or take 1. I didn't choose this portion of take 3, 2, or 1. And so the comping process is done, right? At this point, many users will go up to the menu in the top left corner of the take folder and choose to flatten and merge. And just like that, Logic Pro basically bounces in place the entire take folder. What I'm left with is my quote-unquote perfect take. Now, I'm going to immediately undo this step because, again, I think flattening and merging your take folders is one of the worst things you can do in your projects. And this really has nothing to do with Logic Pro. It's not like flatten and merge is going to ruin your project, but instead it has everything to do with workflow, leaving yourself a backup, a plan B, an escape hatch in the event that some portion of your composite take isn't as good as you originally thought. So let's take a listen to this first opening chord. So it sounds fine, but let's perhaps say, you know what, that first initial strike or the second half of this chord section right here, it could be better. And I landed on maybe this first chord because it's really strong right here. I don't know if you caught that, but there is a distinct tonal difference. There's even a volume difference between the first chord and everything else that comes after. Everything from the tone to the level of the performance to the transition from this take to this take, it sounds weird. It sounds obvious that these are 2 different takes. And you can even visually see. And if I chose to flatten and merge this performance, now take a listen. Here I have this abrupt tonal shift right at the beginning of the song. And because I flattened and merged the take folder and presumably went on to do 100 other things, I've got no way to go back to that original take folder and choose a different portion of that take. Now I'm stuck with this poor edit. So I'm going to undo again, and I'll reselect my original take. Maybe I would choose this entire section, just so things are consistent for those first couple strums. But that's the first example of some of the things that I've seen in baked-in composite takes. Another similar point is just poor placement of edits. So let's try that. So the back end of this portion of take 3 worked out okay, but the front end definitely did not. Similar to the first example, but I really want to hone in on that because I see this, experience it all the time, and my hands are tied because I don't have a take folder I can return to. The third example why flattening a take folder is just no good for your workflow is you've gone through, you've comped this acoustic guitar, and you're like, yep, perfect. But then if we take a listen right around bar 9, the front end of the acoustic guitar kind of goes ga, 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 ga. But you then remember, or I remember, wait a second, there's a different style of that chord performance. And there's actually more of like a gallop or a fast strum. right? That da-da-da-da-da. It's completely different. But if you flatten and merge a take folder, again, now we have this version of the acoustic guitar that's not the correct performance. In my case, it would be the guitarist telling me, hey, Chris, you know that one guitar strum right around bar 9 or 17 seconds in? It's actually not the right pattern. Could you choose one of the other takes? And if I flattened and merged everything, I would have to say, no, sorry, can't do that. You're just going to have to live with it. That definitely would go over well, right? So let's back it up again. And one other example that I've heard in different projects is, let's say, I don't know, for some reason I decide to cut off the tail of the very last chord. Take a listen. Now the big ending with the chord ringing out is cut off. And if I flattened and merged, let's just flatten this time, I'd be stuck with this. Maybe not completely stuck, right? It's still there. But if I merged, I definitely would be stuck. And this one's a dicey one because maybe for the performance, the guitarist or the vocalist was supposed to stop a little sooner. But instead of flattening and merging, I would leave the ring out intact and finesse the edit a different way. So I've shown you several examples of things I've experienced in flatten and merge take folders that just makes life harder. And now I want to show you what I recommend you do instead. There's a couple different ways you can attack this. I personally prefer track alternatives. And a track alternative allows you to either create a new track alternative or a duplicate. And I'm going to choose to duplicate. Okay, so I have two versions now of this take folder. And so this is super clear. I'll show the inactive take folder. Okay, so I have version A and version B right up here. And we can give these different names. So I can call this OG for original, and I'll call this my bounce or my flatten and merge. But basically, any time I decide, okay, I'm done comping, I want to bounce this down, so I have one take instead of 100 takes all living inside a folder, I make a copy of that take folder. So it's always there, always available if I need it. Most of the time, I would not have the inactive track alternatives in view. But if I needed to go back, I could, right? So let's now flatten and merge. Right, so now we have our single region and file of our composite take. I don't have to try to make edits inside a take folder if I really need to get in there and start making other edits. And the beautiful thing is I can always go back to the take folder if I need to. In the event, that some portion of a take isn't as good as I thought it was, some portion of a take, someone says, hey, that's not quite the right performance. Could you pick a different take? Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me go back to the take folder. Let me choose a different portion and let's duplicate again. And I'll call this bounce 2. And I can go ahead and flatten and merge. And now I have bounce 2, bounce 1, and the OG, the take folder. And for the end here, where we clearly hear the performer start to move around, I can trim up the region, add a fade, maybe about there. Just like that, I'm able to edit that last chord so it's exactly the way that I want it without tying my hands, right? And if I wanted it more abrupt, I could do just that. But I always can go back if I need to. If you've never worked with track alternatives before, I have a whole video dedicated to them. And to show track alternatives, if you don't see it in your version of Logic Pro, is to hold Control and click on the track header of any track and go down to Configure Track Header. And there's this option right here to show or hide track alternatives. This is perfect though, because you'll always have that take folder in the background if you ever need to return to it, but it's safely tucked away, not taking up another track in your session. This is actually one of the 11 mistakes I cover in my brand new free mixing guide. Links in the description below if you want the full list.